Hello, and welcome to this overview of layers in Omniverse. Layers are an important and fundamental building block in USD. Though similar to layers in other applications, this is only true tangentially. For one, a layer in USD is a new or referenced USD file. These layers can be edited and managed independently, and when saved, they contribute to any other layer that may use them. This can be extremely useful to consider for libraries of data you want to be able to span multiple projects. In addition, with some minor planning, layers deliver on a completely non-destructive, highly modular workflow, which can be reliably edited anywhere in the production cycle. In this video, I'll be demonstrating just how we go about layering a set of USD files, and will explain the considerations made to use layers effectively. Though not strictly a necessity for small projects, layers form the building blocks upon which scalable, complex systems can be logically contained, managed, and stored. Additionally, they are the critical pathways to things like USD Stage opinions, connected and live collaboration workflows, and success in using more advanced features like live mode. Therefore, having a solid and complete understanding of layers is a key to long-term success in Omniverse and in USD alike. To begin our journey into layers, we are going to start small and work our way up to the complete, simple scene we have before us. While doing so, we will explore some of the UI, the fundamentals, and hopefully leave you in a place ready to start with your first layered scene composition. Ready to get started? To begin, let's take a look at this USD scene and think about how it might be constructed from a high level. Generally, scenes have a background of non-critical elements. We may want to separate this out so we can focus on hero assets or to improve performance. We also may want our lighting to be separate, our chess pieces, board, and so on. Well, before you is a scene where these kinds of decisions have been made, and if we jump into our Layers panel, shows just as much. Here in the Layers panel, we see the Layers stack. Now, to understand layers from this level, it's just too complex. But with a few clicks, we can mute our layers and start at the beginning. And in terms of layers, we really can think of the beginning as the first layer in our layer stack. With layers, each layer builds upon the previous layer in the stack, and builds sequentially from bottom to top to create our fully represented scene. Okay, so let's get started and mute each layer one by one till we are at the base of our stack. Alright, as you saw, within the Layers panel, I am able to mute and unmute layers right here. This panel is effectively where all layer work is done and should not be confused with the stage. In the Layers panel, we can create a new layer by clicking this green plus button here, which prompts you to create and save a USD file in a location of your choosing. Alternatively, you can insert a layer, which will prompt you to select an existing USD file. Either way, the result is the same. A USD file is added to your layer stack. Okay, so the Layers panel manages direct references to other USD files and organizes them in a logical, nested order. The higher in the stack, the stronger. If two layers share changes on a specified asset, the higher layer wins and will be the change that is displayed. Good so far? Okay, let's continue. So, as I mentioned with the buttons, they either create or point to USD files. Therefore, layers are simply other USD files attached to the current USD file. For each of the layers you see here in my layer list, so too a USD file exists. If we trace the path in the Properties panel and open the file, it is simply a world with an environment. Notice that because it was the only unmuted layer in the chess scene, they look identical. Now, if we return to the chess set and enable the next layer, Chess Piece Catalog, we see something a touch more complex. Our very handsome background now illuminates a chessboard, and one of each of the pieces layered in. To be optimally modular, easily managed, and safely updated, this layer is kept intentionally simple. If we again trace the layer and open it, we find the contents are simply asset payloads dragged in from the content browser. These payloads consist of 6 lightweight chess piece meshes: a king, queen, bishop, knight, rook, and pawn, plus the board. Note, however, that no materials or any kind of positioning is set. Generally, This is the method that you will want to follow. Lower ordered layers are best kept simple, at least when you start. Having a clean layer order with logical considerations is always wise and will certainly mitigate confusion as you explore and learn layers. Okay, so in order to keep with that philosophy, it too is important to label your layers well. For example, this layer is called the catalog. So we keep it as a catalog of our chess pieces and purposefully keep it clean. Okay, so now let's look at one of the pieces. Let's choose the knight. So this piece, and all the pieces for that matter, are simply exports from Maya with no materials. Notice just how empty the stage is. No environment, looks folder, nothing, just a mesh. Some workflows may want to export their materials along with the mesh, and of course that would be fine. Much about layers can be subjective, but for my demonstrated workflow, I'm choosing to apply materials in a higher layer for an optimally resilient and maximally flexible workflow. In either case, our pieces are simply USD files containing meshes. Let's jump back to our chess set and unmute yet another layer as we peel back this onion. In this layer, we will see a bunch of things happen. Notice now that not only have our pieces moved nicely into position, we have also duplicated a multitude of pieces to create the full set. We also repositioned them into two opposing teams and created the game start positioning for a proper chessboard. If we look in our layers panel and drop down the layer, we will see a number of both deltas and payloads. Deltas, or changes, are noted by the little triangle symbols. Anytime you adjust a position or make a change to an object from a lower order level, its change is recorded as a delta on the active layer. These deltas can be deleted, and whatever change is made to that element will be removed. This is a fundamental method by which non-destructive workflows express themselves. New payloads, on the other hand, are shown with blue arrow markers. Payloads denote that a mesh or another asset were introduced into that layer. All of these here in my list are the duplicated pieces. If we delete a payload, the created element will be removed from the stage and the layer. Additionally, any related deltas will also be removed. Okay, so to recap, for this layer, we simply added in another USD file to our layer stack, duplicated our pieces from the previous layer, and moved them into position. To make the purpose of the layer apparent, I labeled it the layout layer, as it is the full set at the starting position. Cool so far? Okay, we really only have one important thing left to do. So far, we have created a fully modular and nicely thought through chess set. Because of that little bit of planning, if we were to make changes in Maya to our original pieces, we can be confident they will propagate and update through all the layers accordingly. Okay, all is well. Now, how about those materials? To do this, we add yet another layer to the layer stack. This one being the materials layer. In this layer, we will import our materials from our board and apply them. If we open up our layer, we see the new refs for the added materials and deltas on the meshes. Also, our board plainly now has some nice materials on it. Excellent. Okay, our board is complete. At this point, we have all the knowledge we need to expand our work into a complex scene. Unmuting the background shows what a fully expressed layered scene may look like. As you may imagine, adding a background, or maybe some additional populating assets like these toys, is just more of the same, creating layers, dragging in assets, etc. Scenes constructed of layered USD files, constructed of payloads and references. No matter how complex we get, layers can allow for a clean and manageable scene composition. Pretty cool, huh? Now, at this point, we could consider this overview more or less complete. We have effectively made an entire scene using layers. However, I'd like to now show the idea of opinions, as it is a very clever and useful application for layers. So what if we were to use layers to non-destructively provide opinions or variations to a given scene file? Let's demonstrate this. Here we have two opinions in my layer list, Paul's opinion and Ken's opinion. If we unmute Paul's opinion, we can see he simply wants the board to be set up this way, and generally likes the rest of the scene. However, Ken's opinion was to move the board, position the pieces differently, and use metallic materials instead of stone. He also repositioned the car. So as you can see, we can make very large, non-destructive changes with layers and allow for variance and opinions really easily once we establish the basic fundamentals. Pretty awesome, huh? Okay, so before we leave this quick overview, let's walk through the creation process of a layer and make some quick edits. To create the layer, simply click on the Create Layer button. Now, pick a location, preferably a nucleus location, and give the layer a file name. I'm going to call this one Paul's New Opinion. Once this is done, a new layer now appears in our stack. You can slide it anywhere in the stack, but the top for now is going to be fine. By being on top, it is the strongest layer and changes will not be overridden by other layers in the stack. Once this is done, double-click the layer to set the authoring layer. The authoring layer, as the name suggests, defines which layer your changes will affect. Okay, now we can begin working just as normal. Move things around in the scene, make adjustments to materials, bring in new assets, whatever you want. All the changes are being stored in this layer by deltas, or new refs. When done, double-click on the root layer to stop editing in the given layer. If you want to get rid of the changes, simply disable the layer or remove it from the stack. And yeah, that's all it takes to get started with layers. Obviously, as open and loose a system as layers is, they can be leveraged in ways that would take hours to fully explain. But this should have given you a good enough foundation to begin exploring. Alright, I hope this was helpful in your decision to adopt layers into your workflows and process. They are a fundamental and powerful building block to larger and more robust scene work, but offer advantages too numerous to mention and are worth the investment. Personally, I now think in layers from my base meshes all the way up these days. I honestly cannot imagine going back. Anyhow, let's go ahead and close this up. And thank you very much for watching this brief overview in layers in Omniverse. Bye-bye for now.